Let's look at the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, with both Israeli and Iranian cities coming under new airstrikes overnight. This is now the fourth day of the fighting, and it's sounding unlikely that the White House will attempt any kind of diplomatic intervention.
There's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
That was Donald Trump as he was heading to Canada. U.S. media outlets report U.S. President Trump advised Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu against targeting Iran's supreme leader. In an interview with Fox News, Netanyahu dismissed those reports.
False reports of conversations that never happened, and I'm not going to get into that, but I can tell you, I think that we do what we need to do. We'll do what we need to do. And I think the United States knows what is good for the United States.
Netanyahu did confirm the U.S. military is helping Israel defend its airspace, but there's no signal from the White House that American forces in the region are preparing to join in Israeli strikes on Iran. We have team coverage again this morning. Crystal Gamansing in Jerusalem with the latest from Israel, and Anna Cunningham watching developments out of Iran from London. To begin with you this hour, day 4 of the conflict, as I was mentioning, and again this morning, Israeli cities came under a deadly Iranian attack. What are officials saying about that?
Well, Heather, Israeli officials are saying since Friday, 23 people have been killed. And as you mentioned, communities being affected right across Israel. Iranians are getting through despite the robust air defense systems. You just saw the moment of impact in the central district city of Petah Tikva.
But in general, we have heard from an Israeli military spokesperson this morning, Crystal, in terms of the overall objectives and what Israel thinks it is attaining in the fighting. What does he now say?
That's right. There was a press briefing by a spokesperson for Israel Defense Forces, Brigadier General Efi Defrin. And one of the things he highlighted was the fact that he says Israel has air superiority now over Iran. He says that Israel has managed to take out about a third of Iran's missile launcher systems. In total, they say they have destroyed 120 of those launchers. Of course, with those being destroyed, Israel will have a better chance of dealing with any of the incoming missiles so that they can be handled by the air defense systems. Israeli officials are also highlighting the fact that they say they have confirmed the killing of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard's chief of intelligence, that is Brigadier General Mohammad Qasemi, as well as his deputy. It's worth noting that Israeli officials say that unlike Iran, they continue to target members of the military, any nuclear facilities, and those attached to those nuclear facilities.
Crystal, thank you very much. These are images into us from Tehran earlier this morning. Long lines of vehicles heading north out of the city. And this is video from Sunday showing the aftermath of Israeli airstrikes. Anna Cunningham following that side of the story for us, and she is in London. A couple of things just breaking out as we get into you and some of the accounts out of Tehran. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, there are reports coming out of Israel that he is meeting with his defense minister at an Israeli Air Force base. And these are some of the things that he is saying there to Minister that we are on the path to victory, that we are on our way to achieving our two main objectives, which are to eliminate the nuclear threat and eliminate the missile threat, that the Israeli Air Force is in control of the skies over Tehran. And in keeping with those images we just saw of those long lines of people trying to get out of Tehran, Netanyahu is telling his defense minister that Israel is telling the citizens of Tehran to evacuate because Israel is taking action. So all of that just happening, as Crystal's reporting to us, and you are too. Does this sort of gel with the kinds of reporting that you are hearing from out of Iran today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting, those images that we've seen of people in those long lines trying to leave Tehran. We've also seen long queues as well at gas stations as people are desperately trying to fill up their vehicles so that they can leave. Just one thing, Heather, you mentioned there that Benjamin Netanyahu had said that there is a message, an Israeli message asking people to evacuate Tehran. We are hearing as well that Iran is saying that evacuation order they're describing as an Israeli psychological operations. Also hearing that Iran is a government spokesperson saying that Iran's internet has been slowed down for combating cyber attacks on the country. Clearly, people in Tehran are witnessing these strikes from Israel. And those images that you can see, as you said, they were from Sunday. We understand in the northern area. There's also been strikes on oil facilities. And what is becoming increasingly difficult, Heather, is to independently verify any figures that are coming out of Iran at the moment. We know that there are numbers being reported on state TV, on state-run news agencies, but there is a big gap with what we're hearing in terms of figures coming out of people who have been killed in those.
Thank you so much. Anna Cunningham from London watching developments out of Iran for us today.
Iranian state TV has been hit by an Israeli strike in the last few hours. Dramatic pictures. It caused the channel to go off air altogether. And in the last half hour, Iran has condemned that attack as a war crime. It came shortly after Israel issued an evacuation order for a large part of the Iranian capital, Tehran, saying it had plans to strike military infrastructure that would endanger the life of civilians in the area. It is the fourth day now of missile strikes between the two countries, which started early on Friday when Israel launched a series of surprise attacks targeting nuclear sites and killing Iran's most senior military commanders. Now, Iran restricts access to the country for journalists, but BBC Verify has been using satellite imagery to confirm those attacks and military sites. So here are some of the locations where strikes have been carried out just in the last few days. This is a missile base in Big Khane. Compared with an older image, this satellite image taken yesterday clearly shows damage to the roof. And Isfahan is one of Iran's key nuclear sites. It was confirmed over the weekend that 4 critical buildings at this site were damaged, including the uranium conversion facility. On this satellite image, you can now see visible damage to the buildings. Well, the BBC is not allowed to broadcast from inside Iran, but our colleagues at BBC Persian have been keeping across the situation. Farham Gobadi has this report.
Iranian state TV came under attack during its live coverage. Iran's capital has been under heavy bombardment in recent days. This is Tehran only a few hours ago. Many residents have tried to flee, especially after Israel asked people to evacuate areas near military facilities. But for many, escaping has proven impossible due to paralyzing traffic. One man inside Iran told us why he stayed behind.
I gave up because of the heavy traffic. On the other hand, our entire building has been evacuated and someone needs to stay behind to look after the neighbors' belongings. Besides, smaller towns don't have the capacity to accommodate such a large population.
But it's not just Tehran. Strikes are hitting almost every corner of Iran. This is a hospital in the western city of Kermanshah. Iran says Israel was behind the strike. A human rights group and local sources say a missile launcher was deployed nearby, and it may have been the real target. Either way, this is the reality of war. Civilians paying the highest price. The historic city of Isfahan was struck multiple times yesterday. And in the religious city of Mashhad, the Israeli military says it hit refueling aircraft at the airport, some 2,300 kilometers from its borders. Longest range Israeli strike since the beginning of the conflict. Authorities in Iran say it's not only the fighter jets. Israel also has boots on the grounds.
The most significant blows by the enemy are carried out by local spies.
Iranian police say they've raided a drone workshop in southern Tehran. They say Israeli agents assemble drones inside the country and then load them onto pickup trucks to launch them from there. Iranians say there are no sirens and no shelters. Many feel they're trapped in a war they never chose after decades of repression. Parham Ghabadi, BBC News.
Well, here in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the country is on the way to achieving victory, claiming that it has full aerial control over Tehran. Overnight, Iranian missiles penetrated Israel's air defences, killing 8 people in attacks in Tel Aviv, Haifa and other cities. Our Middle East correspondent Lucy Williamson has the latest from Tel Aviv.
Israel started this war to make Israelis safer, it said, seeing Iran's ballistic missiles as a separate existential threat. Last night, several slipped again through Israel's defences, one landing right in the heart of Tel Aviv. The speed of Israel's offensive in Iran is fueled by the knowledge that this is what happens when a single missile lands. The bar Victoria opened here 25 years ago was a few meters from the impact site. Still in shock, she told me Israel needed to keep up its attacks. We need to finish this so it's final, she said, and not postpone it again for another few years. Are you scared? I asked her. Yes, very. At an airbase today, Israel's Prime Minister praised their achievements. The military said it had destroyed a third of Iran's missile launchers.
The Israeli Air Force is in control of the skies of Tehran. This is a change in the entire campaign. We are on the way to achieving both of our goals, the prevention of nuclear threat and the missile threat.
But how much damage can Israel do to Iran's nuclear program? Some of it buried deep underground in secret sites.
We cannot delay it by more than 2 or 3 weeks. And to the best of my judgment, even the Americans cannot delay it for more than few months. And that's a sensitive issue. It means that if there is a determined, a serious intention to block Iran from turning into military nuclear power, the only way is to announce a full-scale war on the regime itself and carry it on until they are toppled down.
Many Israelis remain firmly behind this war as casualties here begin to mount. Israel's army is now pushing hard on Iran's capital city without any sign of a clear end or exit plan. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Tel Aviv.